That's your dog.
He's just got back from a walk. And we're live.
Oh, isn't he a happy chappy? Hello.
And we're live. Welcome to another Fortean Words. Today we're talking about. I forgot to say it's St. George's Day today. Are we going to do some
Happy St. George?
Are we going to do some? Well, actually, Turkish.
Yeah, it's like yeah, because I mean it was Turkey back then in the days of St. George of Anatolia.
Anatolia. Yeah, I think it was all before the whole place got Turk roached. It probably was Turkey, but not as we know it now.
Well, it was the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantines were Romans.
Yeah.
So what? Slightly Hellenic Romans, but
yeah.
that's not.
Not kebabbed.
It's not a Turk roach.
Not kebabbed is what we need to.
Not at all. No.
Yeah. I think the Romans were fair-haired, blue-eyed, and fair-haired, weren't they as well?
Hmm. And their big Norman noses, like Mark Collett. I'm just thinking of that Monty Python thing where it was big as Dickus.
I'll punch him if he calls me Big Nose again. I thought you were going to talk about Jesus, the bit when they go to see Jesus.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, Big Nose.
Blessed are the big noses.
So, is he on about the Jews? No, he's on about the Romans.
Blessed are the meek. What did he say? Blessed are the Greek. Absolute classic. If you haven't seen, I bet that still stands up to today. I need to rewatch it.
The Life of Brian in it has this section which would be verboten in today's thing, where what's his name? The one who went on to do Basil Fawlty Towers.
John Cleese.
John Cleese was dressed up as a woman. He says, "I want to have babies," and Eric Idle goes to him.
No, it's Eric Idle that wants to have a baby, because John Cleese is trying to. He's trying to do the thing, isn't he? Where he's talking and he keeps getting interrupted by Eric Idle, doesn't he? And every time he says his, and then Eric Idle keeps going or her. Why do you keep talking about women, Stan? Because I want to be one and I want to have babies. Where's the fetus going to gestate? In a box? Imagine showing that today. There'd be some triggered people, wouldn't there?
I mean, I'd like to do. It'd be very easy to do one where you just John Cleese is saying, "What have the Romans ever done for us?" And there's various people in the crowd saying running water, medicine, blah blah blah, and all this sort of list of accomplishments. And then so John Cleese is doing like a monologue for almost a minute, saying all the things the Romans have done for the Judeans. Apart from all that, what have the Romans done for us?
Yeah.
Just
what have white people ever done for us? Apart from all that, what have white nothing?
I was going to say, I mean, not even white people. Let's just be even more discriminating. Apart from all of that, what have the Englishmen done for us? Inventing in their sheds.
Speaking of that, we'll have a flick through and explain mysteries like we normally do. Will Shackleton's lost ship ever been found? You know about Ernest Shackleton?
In a shed? You
know Ernest Shackleton, don't you, Hobbit?
I do. I just thought, seeing as I was talking about sheds, I was like, okay, it's going to be a shed-related segue.
Well, this is shed-related segue. This kind of ties into last week, doesn't it? Believed to lie 3,000 metres beneath the freezing waters of the Antarctic, the famed vessel which carried Shackleton and his crew on the Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition in 1914 has long been sought after due to its role. Oh, excuse me.
It's easy for you to say.
Yeah, in one of the most incredible adventure stories of the modern age, Shackleton had aimed to lead the first ever land crossing of the Antarctic continent. However, the plan was abandoned after the loss of his vessel. He and his crew stranded in the middle of nowhere. Well, we all know he couldn't have crossed the Arctic for insert Earth shape here reason. whether it's hollow or flat, there's no way you could have got across the Antarctic, is there?
No, you go up to the wall and that's it.
Yeah, the wall or the hole, one of the two, or the the tropical paradise? Is that the other option?
It's the tropical paradise with an impassable barrier to prevent the surface dwellers from entering the promised Shangri-La of Hollow Earth. It's good when we got a bit of continuity from episode to episode.
Yeah. So then we can get people to watch previous ones. Do you want to read about the strange case of the Pacific tree octopus? I'll put the link in chat for Unexplained. I'm just going through the news stories.
Oh yeah, chat of Unexplained, because I'm looking at crop circles. So chat of Unexplained.
In the chat, I dumped it in the crop circles chat.
Oh, okay.
It's the last link I'll put in there.
Past the portrait of Francis I of France, who will not be featuring in this episode about crop circles. Because he had nothing to do with it.
Blessed are the big noses.
Yes. Blessed are the meek, they shall inherit. Blessed are the Greeks.
Yeah, what do you think?
Shackleton's.
Yeah, next was it 2 down from there? The tree octopus is what we're doing. The fuck.
Okay, so here we go. Have you got a picture so that our people can see? Well, for the radio audience, because I mean I don't know about you, but I do enjoy listening to the podcast, which you can get on. What is the URL?
Anchor.
I mean, you said
it's
there you go.
Anchor.fm. www.anchor.fm/14 words. Or one word.
I mean, I'm not endorsing Podcast Addict, but it's what I use on Android. And when I had to restart my phone, I didn't even bother looking for the RSS. I just searched for Fortean words. And
well, actually, if I start being lazy, I can put the episode. I can put in the description below all the links, can't I?
Yeah. Well, the reason I mentioned
that includes our email. If anyone wants to get in touch with us by email.
The reason I mentioned the podcast thing is because I enjoy listening to this when driving in the car. So to describe to the radio audience, what we got here is a picture of a forest with the caption of "Does an 8-legged denizen lurk in these woods?" No, it doesn't. Oh, okay. Well, why should I read this article then? All right, I'll carry on reading this article then. Back in 1998. Lyle Zappato launched a tongue-in-cheek campaign to save what he called the tree octopus. When it comes to cryptozoological creatures roaming Washington states, I thought it looked northern hemisphere. It didn't really look like a rainforest. For some reason, I thought it was going to be in the jungle.
Yeah, you can tell. You kind of. It's weird, isn't it? You know, kind of roughly where something is just by looking at it.
It's strange. When I'm driving through France, I mean, most of it looks the same, and then you get like a few kilometers from the coast, and then you sort of notice like a quite dramatic change in the fauna. But anyway, the article. When it comes to cryptozoological creatures roaming Washington State's Olympic National Forest, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Bigfoot, perhaps. Then what about the Pacific Northwest tree octopus?
It sounds like one of those wind-up animals, like a drop bear or something, doesn't it? You heard of the drop bear, haven't you? That's an Australian wind-up animal. You know that they say that these bears drop out the trees and they got big claws or something, don't they?
I need to have my organ plugged in so I can play a tritone when I'm saying tree octopus. Down, down, down. 22 years ago, an online campaign was launched to raise awareness of the plight of this allegedly endangered cephalopod, easy for me to say, which was assigned the scientific name of Octopus paxarbolis. The questionable campaign website claimed that the species spent its first part of its life in the water before emerging to make its home amongst the leaves and branches of the trees. The site even included a section for people to report sightings of the elusive creature. The entire thing was, unsurprisingly, a total hoax. Oh yeah, citation needed. However, the website and the information on it proved so convincing that large numbers of people actually believed the octopus was real.
You would not believe how many web pages mention the Northwest Tree octopus. Because I just look for I look for a translation of Pax Herbalis because I don't know.
Yeah,
but it doesn't show up because normally you get like a translation or something, don't you? Because it has to be like bollocks or something like that. Pax Herbalis.
Well, I when I'm looking at Pax Herbalis, I'm thinking of maybe it means paradox or something, but I don't know enough about Latin.
Yeah.
I've never seen the word Paxar before, and Bolus, I mean, I'm thinking it could mean like dome or something. But so the site includes a section. Yeah, I've done that. It's a thing. Even today, there are those who remain convinced that the creature really exists. In many ways, the Pacific Northwest tree octopus serves as a reminder of how easy it is for false information to spread online, whether it be political claims or stories of strange creatures. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of weird because you know what do you know what a tulpa is, Hobbit?
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, isn't it? It's like Slender Man. Well, a tulpa is a creature that can be created out of pure thought.
I would go as far to say that most creatures, in fact, most of our world is a tulpa of our creation. In which case, why is it that only when we travelled to Australia did the duck-billed platypus become real?
Yeah, that's a wind-up creature, isn't it?
I mean, anybody here, Kaptain, who doesn't believe in God, look at the duck-billed platypus and tell me God doesn't have a sense of humour.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, this is a creature, it's like, you try and describe this creature to people, and all the features it's got, like, oh yeah, it's got a poisoned beak, and it's got flippers, but it looks a bit like an otter.
Yeah, because that's the thing not many people know. They're actually poisonous, aren't they? Don't they have poisonous claws or something?
I don't know, and it glows in the dark, and it can levitate.
Is it in the CIA?
The more features you describe about it, oh yeah, its blood is neon green, and they just say, "Nah, you're making this up. This is a wind-up, mate." And then you sort of like, because
it's like one of those things you'd see at a Victorian freak show, you know, where they've stitched bits together.
Exactly. I mean, that's where all these griffins, and I say griffin because that's like it's a mishmash creature, like eagles and lions and stuff like that together. But there was a lot of griffin, taxidermied griffins in Victorian freak shows, and the duck-billed platypus just.
While both male and female platypuses are born with ankle spurs, only the male spurs deliver venom, composed largely of defensin-like proteins, 3 of which are unique to the platypus. The DLPs are produced by the immune system of the platypus. The function of defensins is to cause lysis in pathogenic bacteria and viruses, but in platypuses they're also formed into venom for defence. Powerful enough to kill smaller animals such as dogs, the venom is not lethal to humans, but the pain is so excruciating the victim may be incapacitated.
It's just it's an insane creature. I mean, you know how animals have like collective names, like a merger of crows and a business of weasels.
Oh, did you know this as well? Did you know they also have electroreception? Like they're the only mammals, apart from at least one species of dolphin, known to have electroreception.
Again, when I said it's got neon green blood, it levitates and glows in the dark, I was making it up. I'm thinking the duck-billed platypus is a tulpa, and you say it's got neon green blood, and now it's got neon green blood.
How about this then? In recent studies, it's suggested the eyes of the platypus are more similar to those of the Pacific hagfish or the Northern Hemisphere lampreys than to those of most tetrapods. The eyes also contain double cones, which most mammals do not have. Although the platypus's eyes are small and not used underwater, several features indicate that vision played an important role in its ancestors.
So you know how with genetic modification they can splice gene sequences from animals which could never crossbreed. Like there's these really aggressive salmon which have got cockroach genes in them, and they've also got like genes from a plant. Well, I didn't think it was possible to splice plants with animals, but they did it. And I'm wondering if the duck-billed platypus is an ancient example which somehow survived of genetic engineering, where the lab technicians got bored and were just like, what's the craziest creature that
I
we
haven't
can make
finished
which
yet.
exists?
I haven't finished yet. They're a mammal that lays eggs. They're a mammal that lays eggs as well, aren't they?
Oh, I forgot they're egg layers. I mean, these guys, it's you know what it is. I mean, if someone said, "Oh yeah, 100,000 years ago in Lemuria, they were doing like their version of the CRISPR gene editing," and as a laugh, there was a challenge like, "What's the most ridiculous and outlandish creature you can make, which is like genetically viable, which won't just like die off in 2 generations?" And the duck-billed platypus is the winner.
Oh dear. I mean, if you describe that to someone and no one had ever seen one, they'd go fuck off, wouldn't they? If like some like carnival barker from the Victorian era told you what these are all about, they'd go fuck off, mate. There's no way that thing exists.
I wasn't born yesterday. What do you take me for? An egg-laying mammal with poisonous spurs with glow-in-the-dark blood? 20 grand a year to talk fucking bollocks. Do one.
20 grand a year to talk like a fucking knobhead.
Oh, that man's a legend.
Oh, dear.
You know
Absolutely.
what? I mean, not that I'd ever be in the north of England because, let's face it, it's a shithole. But if ever I have the good fortune of encountering that man, I will buy him a pint.
Are we ready to do the next story then? A student grows an 8-foot canoe out of mushrooms.
Oh yeah, I'm interested in this, and I'll tell you why. There's a guy called. Have you ever heard of Paul Stamets?
No.
He's an advocate for using. He's a mycologist, and he's an advocate for like alternative construction materials using mycelium. So a recent science experiment has highlighted the unique potential of fungus as a viable construction material. Oh, okay. So this is probably going to say what I was thinking. With concerns over plastic pollution taking center stage in recent years, scientists have been hunting for new types of biodegradable materials that could shape the world in the decades to come. One of the most promising possibilities is fungus, or more specifically mycelium, the dense fibrous roots of the mushrooms, which are typically hidden deep beneath the soil. One advocate of using fungus as a construction material is 20-year-old Katie Ayers, no relation to Pam Ayers, a student and rowing enthusiast from Central Community College in Columbus, Nebraska. To demonstrate the potential of mycelium, Ayers teamed up with mushroom company owner Ash Gordon to grow an entire canoe out of mushrooms by first building a wooden structure and then allowing the fungus to grow around it, forming the structure of the outer hull. In addition to being biodegradable, fungus is waterproof and buoyant, which is perfect for building a boat, like wood is. The unorthodox vessel, which measures 8 foot long, took a mere 2 weeks to grow. Well, no, it took longer because you're making this up. I would be more like if she said I made out of cardboard and then the mycelium shell was like glass fiber, I'd have been more interested in that. But anyway, she says, it's not just a piece of art. This is a functioning boat that works, said Gordon. Oh, sorry. Is Ash a man or a woman? Let's pretend Ash Gordon is man.
Short for Ashley, it still could be short for a woman, isn't it? Because it's like the Yanks.
Yeah.
A female name, don't they?
Well, Katie Ayers, I'm assuming, is a woman, but Ash Gordon, being as he's the one that's doing the science, is a man. So it ain't just a piece of art. This is a functioning boat that works. It really helps bridge the gap between people who didn't have an interest in mycology. Maybe they don't like to eat mushrooms and really haven't found out other potential uses for them. The boat gave them something to look at and think about. Oh, and it's got a tweet here. Graham Hancock's been promoting it. He's you've heard of Graham Hancock. And so Graham Hancock says, no, he did. I think he did like a book like Drugs What I've Done, LOL. But he's given it like a proper. He's given it like a
available in all good bookshops.
He's given it.
Speaking of Pam Ayres, I've actually found a Pam Ayres poem about the current situation. Did you want to read it out a bit after this?
Is she still alive?
Oh, she's making poems, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Either she's still alive or someone's doing it. I'll let you read that.
Or she's doing them from beyond the grave.
Yeah.
They're doing a seance of Pam Ayres. Well, yeah, I'll definitely read that. But Graham Hancock, I think he did Spirit of the Gods or Drink of the Gods. He was talking about entheogens, as they call psychedelics. So he says, Ayres has taken the canoe out for 3 test floats, including one in which 2 people comfortably sat inside. The boat is still alive, which means it fruits. It grows mushrooms. Each time they take it out for a paddle. So yeah, that was the quote by Graham Hancock.
That's strange. So how did they do it then?
So they used the wood as a substrate for the mycelium to grow on. And Graham Hancock says, well, when it gets wet in water, it will grow mushrooms. It's a living vessel.
Ooh,
yeah, you see, that's the thing. I haven't
seen Ray Mears make one of them.
No, he's
missed the trick there, hasn't he?
Yes, but if we want to get into this, I don't mind spending an extra 5 minutes to talk about Paul Stamets, because he's the true advocate of using mushrooms or mycelium. So Paul Stamets.
Is he one of those that says the Bible was about magic mushrooms?
That was Graham Hancock.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
what's his name? Joe Rogan peddles that one, doesn't he?
So I'm looking at Paul Stamets' website here, and it's called Fungi Perfecti. I used to see him on the Shroomery forum, which is all about mushrooms and growing them, and he did a lot of sense there. So what was he said about his website? The unofficial name for the subdivision hosting what we call mushrooms. Mushrooms are fleshy fungi that reproduce through sexual matings of germinated spores. Fungi Perfecti Limited Liability Company is a family-owned business dedicated to promoting the cultivation of high-quality gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. In business since 1980, we have instrumental in developing new technologies and markets for gourmet mushrooms throughout the world. Well, he was also talking about using them for construction material, but I'm guessing. Paul Stamets is a mycologist, medical researcher, and entrepreneur. He's considered the intellectual and industry leader in fungi, habitat, medicinal use, and production. Paul is the author of 6 books, including Mycelium Running, How Mushrooms Can Outsave the World, Growing Gourmet and Medicinal Mushrooms, and Psilocybin Mushrooms of the World. He has discovered and named numerous new species of psilocybin mushrooms.
I think we need to set up a debate between the hemp is the drug that will save the world, and mushrooms are the drug that will save the world. I think we need to see a big debate there, don't we, Hobbit? Blood sports.
Well,
blood sports. Hemp or magic mushrooms.
Yeah, and then when they got the wounds afterwards, what are they going to reach for? The CBD oil or the shrooms? So, Colgate Max White says fungus is the key to unlimited free energy.
Glow in the dark. Can you get glow in the dark funguses or fungi?
Well, yes, you do actually get bioluminescent fungi, and but I'm just trying to think. Tesla coils weren't grown from mushrooms, so I don't know, but I'd like to hear more about that, Colgate Max White.
I don't think you can do it. You can make an AR out of fungus, can you?
Oh, well, one way to find out. You're not going to get fungus. Tell you what, though, have you heard of the mushrooms growing in the Chernobyl exclusion zone? They got black skin and they're absorbing the gamma radiation from the site. So they're actually photosynthesizing. Well, they photosynthesizing this highly ionizing radiation, which destroys cell function, and they're just thriving in it. They figured out a way to do it.
So the scientists found a way to kind of use it for other purposes.
Oh, Weeperboo says, Hemi, can you rate Mark's quarantine haircut? I mean, it's not much to say when you've got a skillet. Yeah, tip top. There you go.
Yeah.
A grade 0, is it?
No, he's gone for a 1, I think. A 1 or a 2, I think he's gone for.
Oh, grade 1 all over.
Yeah.
So you said Pam Ayres has done a poem, what she has roted. Pam Ayres has something to say about the current situation.
Oh, before that, I didn't know whether to do it here or Grub and Glory, but apparently farts can spread COVID. Have you seen that story? Oh,
yeah, I have. But the thing is, because most people wear trousers and not arseless chaps, that kind of works like wearing a face mask. So if you cough and fart, as long as you've got something in between you and the others, it reduces the spread. So this is Pam Ayres' poem, Time for Us Girls. I'm normally a social girl. I love to meet my mates. But lately with the virus here, we can't go out the gates. You see, we are the oldies now. We need to stay inside. If they haven't seen us for a while, they'll think we've upped and died. They'll never know the things we did before we got this old. There wasn't any Facebook, so not everything was told. We may seem sweet old ladies, but who would never be uncouth. But we grew up in the 60s, if only you knew the truth. There was sex and drugs and rock and roll, the pill and mini skirts. We smoked, we drank, we partied, and there were quite outrageous flirts. Oh, sorry, and we were quite outrageous flirts. Then we settled down, got married, and turned to someone's mum. Somebody's wife, the nana. Who on earth did we become? We didn't mind the change of pace, 'cause our lives were full. But to bury us before we dead is like a red flag to a bull. I'm sorry, Pam Ayres, I can't do your accent. So here you find me stuck inside for 4 weeks, maybe more. I maybe found myself again, then I had to close the door. It didn't really bother me. I'd while away the hour. I'd bake for all the family, while I've got no flaming flour. Now Netflix is just wonderful. I like a gutsy thriller. I'm swimming over Idris, dirty coal burning. Right, that's it. Pam Ayres, I don't like you anymore.
Pam Ayres is off the list, is she now?
Oh, this finished yet. I've started, so I've finished.
Yeah.
I'm swooning over Idris, or some random sexy killer. At least I've got a stash of booze for when I'm being idle. There's wine and whiskey, even gin, if I'm feeling suicidal. So let's all drink to lockdown, to recovery and health, and hope this awful virus doesn't decimate our wealth. We'll all get through the crisis and be back to join our mates, just hoping I'm not far too wide to fit through the flaming gates. You know, I met Pam Ayres as a baby. She was in the Village Fate. And my granddad was holding me at the time, and
did you cry?
He had those NHS. No, I loved her. Apparently, my granddad had those, like, you know, what's his name? That bloke on the telly, Michael Caine. That's it.
Yeah.
He used to wear those. Yeah, that's it. And so my granddad had a pair of those on, and I pulled it off his face, and she said, "Oh, your grandson's giving him a nasty nash." So yeah, I met Pam Ayres, and nasty Nash.
She is. It was probably the big bosoms. That's probably why you were drawn to her when you was a nipper.
Oh yeah, she has got a fantastic pair of norks.
Yeah, very matronly, isn't she?
Oh, I love Pam Ayres, but you know the fact is, when she's talking about Idris and sexy killers, it just proves all women are trash.
Yeah, I'd have allowed it if she was using Idris as a rhyme, but she didn't.
Yeah. No, she didn't.
Are we going to talk about some more paranormal stuff instead of Pam Ayres?
Well, Pam Ayres is paranormal because the synchronicity is I met her.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's a small world after all.
How about
Hemi's Ralph? No. Hemi's Vedic build.
I don't know what that means. Do you want to do the one about a man who discovers a car buried in his back garden?
Oh, yeah, okay. Man discovers a car buried in his back garden. I closed the website because, unlike you, I don't like having more than 2 tabs open at the same time. And I tell you, I've got
open it up.
Yeah, Firefox is using 2 gigabytes of RAM. That's it. I've placed in an order for more RAM because 16 gigabytes clearly isn't enough.
Have you thought of taking RAM out?
Oh, yeah.
Because the more RAM you take out, the less it will use.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I'm sure when they get 32 gigabytes...
I think Windows just automatically has half, so just take RAM out. Don't put more RAM in, just take less out. Take more out.
I was going to say, is Windows like a fat advocate woman, where it's just like, I'll have half of that?
Yeah.
Man discovers a car buried in his back garden. John Brayshaw was digging in his yard in Heckmondwike. Heckmondwike?
That sounds like somewhere in Yorkshire to me. But it's not.
It's John Brayshaw was digging in his yard in Heckmondwike when he unearthed
I'm right.
an entire
BBC Look North tonight. Man who found
bang on! He found an entire 1950s Ford Popular 103E. The bizarre discovery which the 40-year-old made while digging holes for decking posts during the coronavirus lockdown will go on to spark a mystery spanning more than 70 years. While the search for answers initially left him scratching his head, John got a lucky break when the man contacted him explained that the car had been buried there by his father, Harold Lyles. His name's Harold Lyles, yes.
Yes.
Yorkie bars can't pronounce wise. It's a non-scientific fact. You know, the Yorkshire man can't pronounce the letter Y. The story goes that Harold...
Typical fucking tight Yorkshireman, isn't it? Story goes that Harold, a World War II veteran and former electrician, had purchased the vehicle when it was 3 months old for his wife in 1958. However, she ended up severely disliking it. He drove the car for 6 years till it developed a mechanical fault which was too expensive to fix. Unwilling to pay the fee to have it towed away for scrap, Harold left it in his garden for a while before enlisting the help of his brother to bury it in the ground as a sort of time capsule for future generations.
Sadly, Harold died in 1987. However, his wife, who is 91, has since been informed about the find. Oh no, it's fucking awful. I thought you got rid of that. I'm devastated to find out it's still around. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic to have the answers to the mystery, said John. I'm over the moon to have found the car and put a story to it. It's amazing that his family is still around, and I'm glad they got to see us. East from up north. I like the idea. It's like, how much does it get to cost to tow away? It'll cost 2 and 6pence. Oh, bugger that. I'll just spend all weekend digging a 6-foot hole in the garden to bury this massive car.
That's some serious tightness. You're not going to beat that one, are you?
I mean, you know the phrase "cutting off your nose to spite your face."
That literally is it, isn't it? Losing a day to save £2.
It's like those people. It's like, I'm not going to the shop to buy penny washers when I've got pennies here and I can drill in them. And I was like, mate, the washers are cheaper than a penny.
Plus, which one do you want to do? Do you want to do some of these, or do you want to see if there's anything interesting?
Canadian Sarlacc pit, that could tie into crop circles.
You fancy that one then, do you?
Yeah,
there's a good one on the next page. The Cornish Owl Man. Should we do the Canadian Sarlacc pit?
Yeah, I'll do this. So, a gargantuan cave in the Canadian wilderness was only recently discovered because it had been filled with ice. Situated in Wellsgrave Provincial Park, British Columbia, the huge cave, which has been nicknamed Sarlacc Pit, excuse me, my dinner was repeating on me, after the creature in Return of the Jedi, is one of the largest stripe karst caves on Earth. Karst there is spelled Karst. The cave measures approximately 100 by 60 metres and extends underground for at least 135 metres, with the first 80 metres or so being a sheer vertical drop down into the darkness. That's a length of about 1.5 chains for if you're using old money. Water thunders down into the entrance and is thought to emerge as a stream about 2.1 kilometers away. That's about 1.5 miles for old money. Or how many furlongs is that? I don't know. Not a new study published this week has revealed the cave had managed to remain totally hidden from mankind for centuries because it had been filled with ice and covered in snow. It's only because of rising global temperatures.
Ian Squibb said he's going to do a bit on the Cornish owl, man. So he wants to do that when he comes on in a couple of weeks' time.
Oh, in that case, let's leave the Cornish owl man to when Ian comes on, because he'll do justice better than we can.
Yeah.
So it says this is amazing, repeated twice.
Hold on a sec.
Earth-formed.
Marco Coletti said if he was a true northern, he would have fly tipped it in an alley.
Yeah, but the thing is, it was if he did that, I mean, somebody would have taken it to the scrap heap and got a couple of quid for it. So yeah, he says, what is it? Amazing Earth form natural feature, but yes, found a result of climate change. I believe that's the modern parlance for global warming, which is unfortunate, said the study core for Catherine Hicks. Hang on, make up your bloody mind. You're saying it's amazing and incredible, and now you're saying it's unfortunate. Bloody women can't make the mind up. The ice plug filling up the cave was likely still present even as recently as 10 years ago. The amount of snow and ice that was in there, it's hard to melt that much material, especially at high elevations such as this, said glacial geologist Brent Ward, who is not involved in the study. Even if the glacier had retreated that far without the anthropogenic climate change, that snowbank and ice would not have melted while at warmer temperatures we're seeing in the summer. All right. I'm disappointed with that story. It could have been a nice story about a cave, and then they just had to turn it into a propaganda puff piece for their failed global warming.
Global warming, they're still selling that con then, are they?
Oh yeah, but they've rebranded it as climate change these days to appeal to the youth.
You want to do this one on the next page? Hill of the Dragon Cave yields medieval shrine.
Oh yeah, that sounds good. Let's see. ISIS launch will be first from use in 10 years. No. Oh, ISS launch.
ISIS
Hill of the
launch.
Dragon, that's it.
ISIS launch satellites. What do they want a satellite for?
This is an interesting inscription on the on the thing. Yeah, there's that cave pitch. It's just coming into focus now on the screen. So for the audience here, there is a bas relief in the cave, and it looks like a series of concentric. How would you describe that shape? It's not a triangle, is it? It's not. I would describe
that
as a rocket shape.
It's like a raindrop, isn't it? The two bits in front are like raindrops, aren't they? Are you talking about the bit behind with the? Is that some sort of bead or something in it?
No. What I'm describing is the bit in the middle, and I suppose it's got like a boat hull shape, where it's got a sort of curved point and then a bottom bit, and there's three superimposed one on top of the other. It looks like one's raised on top of it. But the one right at the bottom has got a thing which sticks out like a fin, and it's got what looks like an eye. So I'm not sure it's supposed to be
No, that's a tail,
fish.
isn't it? That looks like a hip and a tail. Like a dog's... I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, for the YouTube audience, which can see this image, you have a good look at it. I mean, to me, it looks like a fish with a horseshoe or some sort of arch underneath the fish. But why is there three on top of each other? Why is the letter I to this thing? So let's read.
That's more like a D. It looks like a cutlass handle, doesn't it? With like a R. It looks like an R with the left hand leg missing, doesn't it? Very strange, isn't it?
It is strange. So British railway workers have discovered a previously hidden cave that was exposed during a landslip. Yeah. The remarkable find, which has since been investigated by a team from UCL Archaeology Southeast, is situated near Guildford, southern England. It's thought to date back over 700 years. Is this going to be another puff piece of climate change? Oh, we didn't find this cave, and then suddenly the cave was there because of climate change. And yes, and I turned a light on, and that was because of climate change. Believed to be linked to the nearby medieval church of St. Catherine, the cave contains several niches that may be used for worship.
Why do you have a cave attached to a church?
You know what? It's not the first cave to be. I was trying to find about whose name escapes me again. The president of France before Jacques Chirac, the one who commissioned the pyramid of 666 panes of glass for the Louvre. He was at a church which has an entrance into caves, and he communed with the spirits, as he said, or devils, as other people say. It's a strange chapel. I need to have a look around for that Mysterious Monuments book. And maybe my mate has still got it. I don't know. So let's see. So he says, the cave contains several niches that may be in useful worship, as well as a Gothic shrine decorated with the cavalry cross. Black soot marks on the ceiling and what appears to be fire pits on the cave floor also suggest that the people who once frequented its interior would have conducted their rituals by firelight.
So the old name for St. Catherine. So they saying it was pagan then, or what?
Well, this is the thing. They're saying the old name for St. Catherine's Hill is Drakehole, or the Hill of the Dragon. So this has obviously been a site for ritual significance long before the construction of the church on top of the hill in the late 13th century, said a spokesperson for UCL. Why can't it be spokesman? UCL Archaeology Southeast. Work is underway.
Isn't person anti-trans yet?
Oh, it's like chairman has been contracted to chair, and it's like, well, I'm sorry, chairs don't speak.
Person, what about people who identify as attack helicopters?
Yes. Actually, I'm an AH-64 Apache. Work is underway to analyse soot and charcoal found inside the cave, which will hopefully tell us more about how and when it was used. I assume they're going to do carbon dating on the soot deposits.
Hasn't carbon dating? Am I wrong, or hasn't carbon dating been debunked as nonsense?
It's not nonsense. It's not nonsense. It's even more interesting than that, and I'm glad you're on the subject. So to explain radiocarbon dating, there's I'm probably going to get this wrong. The stable isotope of carbon is carbon-12, which means it's got 6 electrons, 6 protons, 6 neutrons. And the radioactively unstable isotope of carbon is carbon-14. So it's got 6 electrons, 6 protons, and 8 neutrons. And those 2 neutrons eventually decay. I don't know if carbon-13 exists, but carbon-12 does. I'm just no, keep that website up. I'm going to look. One moment. Carbon-13. Does carbon-13 exist? Yeah, carbon-13 is a natural stable isotope of carbon. So it makes up about 1% all natural carbon on Earth. So the point being is, you can tell by the carbon-14 content of a material its approximate age, because it's got a known half-life. But, and I don't know if this is the same for other radioactively unstable materials, radioactive decay is not a constant, which we once thought. Solar radiation affects the rate of half-life decay. So you could still use carbon dating to give you a rough estimate of when it is, but you have to take into account how much solar radiation was there. And we've only recently had satellites, as in the past 20 years. I think SOHO's been around since the 2000 and 1 or 3.
There's actually I know this one. I know this one from a James Dellimpole podcast, because he had a climate realist on there, and what this guy said was that there's actually satellite data that goes back to, I think, 67. But because this is to do with the polar ice caps. I think it was 67 or 62. I'm not sure. But whatever year the ice cap, whatever year the climate alarmists use, is the peak. Yeah. But the data actually goes back further than that to show that it was going up before it hit the peak, and now it's going down again, the polar ice.
Yeah, and I mean that. Because this is the thing, we've had more weather satellites since 1967. The one I was on about though is one specifically to monitor the solar weather, and I think it's called SOHO. Excuse me. Oh, that. Have you ever had a burp and it was really satisfying on the way up? It was just like.
I thought you were going to say it was really tasty, Hobbit.
Oh, it's like when a meal's so good, you need to taste it twice. But
you are gross.
Well, yeah, okay. But moving swiftly on, the point
is
being
is it the Malaysians? Is it the Malaysians believe that a burp after a good meal is good manners, don't they?
The Arabs certainly do.
Yeah.
They say if you burp afterwards, it's a sign of gratitude. But the point being is that thanks to SOHO and other solar experiments, we now know that the sun's radiation fluctuates. We don't have accurate models to predict that. So the thing is, in the future, if people sort of like say, from 2002 onwards, they can accurately radiocarbon date something, because they'll have the solar radiation fluctuations recorded, so they can say, oh yes, well, it would decay this much. But the thing is, anything after 2003 would probably have a good idea of when it was made, because we know when we manufactured it. So
how far out can it? I don't know whether you'd know this, but how far out can it be then? If the solar radiation,
it's a good question. We just don't know, because the thing is, we don't have that much data on the sun and how much the radiation varies by. I mean, possibly in the future we can sort of say.
Well, I suppose a degree a million years ago is massive. It makes a massive difference now.
Yeah. So in other words, this radiocarbon dating, it still gives you a good idea. I mean, it could probably plus or minus 10,000 years can say, that's how old this thing is. But well, no, it's probably more accurate than that, because if these guys are using it to try and figure out how many centuries old this cave is, they still work on the assumption that. Well,
the cave probably would be accurate, wouldn't it? Because there's not going to be a lot of solar radiation in there, is there?
Yeah, I don't know how it works, you see, because this is the thing. I suppose what they'll have to do is comparative analysis, saying, well, we know this object is this old, and we indicate that more carbon-14 decay has occurred, therefore this object is older than that, but it's not as old as this object. So you can kind of place the object in sort of a time period like that.
Blimey,
someone in the chat.
We've done nearly an hour on the preamble. I'm just had a look at the time.
Gas Can in the chat, he says you should get Kurt Doolittle on. How's that for a warm intro? I've heard the name Kurt Doolittle before. Gas Can, who's Kurt Doolittle? Tell me more about him.
He's a proprietarian, isn't he?
Is he? What's proprietarian?
Do you remember Brutus had John Mark on ages ago? His avatar is someone in a red motorbike helmet. Do you know that one?
Doesn't ring a bell. Sorry.
Right. So it's proprietarianism. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, because that sounds a bit like libertarianism, and I'm just wondering if it's an offshoot of that.
It's like proper libertarians. Hold on.
I mean, my good friend on the YouTube these days, Fremen on the Sand, he understands very much about the Freeman on the Land movement, and
it's very libertarian. It's proprietarianism or proprietarianism is a political philosophy that reduces all questions of ethics to the right to own property.
So, in other words, hippity hoppity, children are property.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, proprietarianism, I mean, when it's spelt that way, just like, oh, this is proper libertarianism.
Proper libertarianism. Isn't any of fake libertarianism?
Yeah. None of your wishy-washy capstan libertarianism. We want proprietarianism.
Yeah.
If I say Capstan's name 5 times in front of a mirror, would he come on the show and just say you're talking bollocks?
Yeah, probably.
So, crop circles then.
Crop circles. I've put the slides up. Where do you want to start with crop circles?
Well, I hear they're a recurring event, aren't they? They pop up here and there.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
So, according to our good friend Wikipedia, a crop circle, crop formation or corn circle, is a pattern created by flattening a crop, usually a cereal. The term was first coined in the early 1980s by Colin Andrews. Crop circles have been described as all falling within the range of the sort of thing done in hoaxes by Tanner Edis, the professor of physics at Truman State University. Although obscure natural causes, alien origins of crop circles are suggested by fringe theorists, there are no scientific evidence for such explanations, and all crop circles are consistent with human causation. All of them.
Yes.
2 blokes and a plank. That's it.
I was going to say, because humans have the... Yeah,
it's like having Ian on the show, isn't it? It's two blokes and a plank. That's it. Everyone can go home now. Show's a wrap, and thank you very much for having me on, Hemi, and I'll see you next week. I'll tell you what, I think I know somebody who might be able to entertain the maths behind this, but we'll be getting into... I'm going to jump the gun a bit here and say a word called cymatics. And that, audience, is the term for funny shapes, what you can make out of resonant patterns and harmonics in sounds. And I'm looking at these crop circles. Is there an easily repeatable experiment that we could do at home that would prove this, Hobbit?
Yes, in fact, there is. You get a speaker.
Did you like that, Hobbit? That was seamless. I don't think anyone would notice I set you up for that, Hobbit.
No, not at all. I mean, it's like we rehearsed this or something. So, if you want to experiment with cymatics at home, I would actually get a baking tray, one of those thin ones you get from Asda or some other supermarket.
And the reason are available.
Yes, other good other mediocre supermarkets are available.
Well, actually, if any one particular supermarket does want to slip us some money, if any supermarket does want to slip us some money, then we will say specifically that supermarket.
Yeah, I mean, Aldi, Lidl, Morrison's, Tesco. If you want to get in touch, our email will be in the description below, and we're quite happy to have a sponsorship deal. So and I'll promote your products, especially your own brand. But
until then, any supermarket.
Yes, you can get cheap baking trays at any supermarket, and what you can do is you can use either salt crystals or sand, something which is fairly light and easy to move about, and you put a speaker underneath, and you use a tone or a signal generator, I should say. So you get a sine wave, and you go up the frequencies, or you ask your local synthesizer enthusiast if you could use the synth to do the frequencies. You don't even need that. There are ways of making these patterns
can you just put a banging donk on, Hobbit? Can you do it with a banging donk?
You put a banging donk on it, and you will get a certain pattern come. But if so you can do this at home. You don't actually have to use the speaker. The reason I suggest that is because you can make the tin thrum. But if you hum at the right frequency, or if you play a bow on it like a violin, or rub it with, I've seen people using a rubber stick.
What are they called, those substances? They're called a something substance, aren't they?
Oh, non-Newtonian fluids.
That's it, yeah. Because you can run over. Because if you filled a swimming pool with custard, you could run over it, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. Non-Newtonian fluids are strange in that the faster you hit them, the more solid they are. Yet they are a liquid, and that's why they are a non-Newtonian liquid. But the point being is, you can use non-Newtonian liquids. You can use sand particles, any sort of thing which, when you play sound on it, will start to vibrate. And you can notice is that as you increase in pitch, you get increasingly more complicated geometric patterns form, and these geometric patterns are a visual representation of the harmonics and subharmonics. So I'm looking at these crop circles, and they're more abstract in form than harmonics and subharmonics. But I would really like to ask somebody and say, if you were to put this into a sound frequency analyzer and just sort of say it's a cymatic representation of the sound, what sort of sounds would you get from it? Because I think it'd be very interesting if somebody could figure out a way to get these shapes and to play them back. This is the other thing as well. I mean, I wanted to mention, because the Wikipedia article, I imagine that Snopes would have the definitive
thing about
how it's all bollocks.
While we're on non-Newtonian liquids, did you know people are developing non-Newtonian liquid body armour?
Hey, that makes sense. Yeah. It's because it will harden up on high impact to soften a blow. Yeah, that actually makes a lot. I imagine that probably work quite well for not really for vehicle armor, because
although actually all they're doing is kind of weird. It consists of Kevlar that is soaked in one of two fluids, either a shear thickening fluid or a magnetohalogical fluid. Both these fluids show the behaviour of non-Newtonian fluids.
Well, that magnetohalogical, whatever that is, that sounds like iron filings or some sort of iron dust suspended in an oil. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
I just thought I'd add that one in.
Brutus, he's saying in the chat, debate starting now. He's having a scrap with Horus. Stop watching Hemi. Hobbit is boring anyway. Come and watch my channel. So... don't worry, Brutus. We'll be done in an hour's time. So you don't say anything important until 10 o'clock.
Yeah, just go easy on him for the first day. Just soften him up in the first hour.
Yeah, do a warm intro where you talk about news articles like that cave in Dragon Hill.
Yeah.
So I mean, here's one of the things which always annoys me with these things is nobody's explained how do you bend a stalk of wheat without snapping it. Because have you ever been into a field to see if you can bend a stalk of wheat? I have.
Yeah, everyone's had a stalk of wheat, haven't they? They just snap. They're like it's like bending a straw, isn't it? Because they're hollow, aren't they?
They are literally hollow, brittle straws.
Yeah. So how would you bend a plastic straw? You can't.
Not without breaking.
They just they just flatten, don't they?
I mean, the thing is, a plastic straw is a lot tougher than a wheat straw. And the only thing I could think is like, all right, if I was going to try and bend wheat without breaking, how would I do it? And I was thinking, well, maybe you could use steam to soften it up. But if you use steam to soften it up, then you will kill off the wheat cells. You've effectively cooked it. So it's no longer going to be a living plant. Whereas whatever's doing this, hey, I think I've just figured it out how it's done, Hemi.
Go on then.
So this is a Fortean Words exclusive.
Yeah.
My speculation, which can probably be verified with some experiments, and I will have a go with some signal generators and some banging PA speakers. I'll go out into a field and I'll play a banging donk, and I'll see if it'll make the wheat stalks. Well, I know the wheat stalks will start swaying in sympathy, but my idea is if you use like maybe ultrasonics or some high pressure LFO waves, you might be able to cause the wheat to start bending without
it's all right,
damaging.
You don't need to do that. I've found it's been suggested that crop circles, this is from Wikipedia, may be the result of extraordinary meteorological phenomena ranging from freak tornadoes to ball lightning.
It's swamp gas. It's swamp gas. Swamp gas.
And Venus.
Swamp gas. Swamp gas from Venus does it.
Yeah.
That's it. If in doubt, swamp gas
or Venus.
It's like
swamp gas and Venus.
Have you? Yeah,
and ball lightning.
Weather balloons are swamp gas from Venus. It is one. I mean, do you ever? Because one of my hobbies is etymology, and I like going like, yeah, but where did that word come from? But where did that word come from? But where did that word come from? And it seems to be. It just eventually says Indo-European origin. That's where all the words they're all like Indo-European. So yeah, in this case, swamp gas. Swamp gas is the rational Wikipedian's version of Indo-European origin.
Have you ever heard of a biophysicist called William Levengood?
No.
He says that he's found differences. He says that he's found differences between the crops inside the circles and outside them, citing this as evidence they were not man-made. Because I know I used to read a lot of UFO magazines and stuff like that back in the day, because it was found that these were like bent, weren't they? They weren't snapped, they were bent, which is just what you were trying to say, Hobbit.
There was a crop circle not far from me recently, and a completely unrelated crop circle which appeared in the Royal Right Stones, and the observers there were taking photographs showing that none of the sticks of wheat, apart from where their footsteps had been on it, were broken. Stash Prowler's in the chat.
Yes.
Hobbit and coincidences. Yeah. It was just in time for my world exclusive, where I reckon they're using sound waves to bend the stalks of wheat. But the thing with sound waves is they propagate out. So how is it that they make such clearly defined shapes and lines in this? Is there a way? I'm thinking it probably is ultrasonics then. That ultrasonics is the only way I can think where you can have a clearly defined like area with sound where there's science out there. I know the technology. This is actually a human technology which may or may not be of extraterrestrial origin, but do you remember on Tomorrow's World many years ago, back when it was on, they were showing this, and I remember it was really sinister because I just thought, why would you do that?
Hobbit, have you read all of this article?
What article?
That's the one, the crop circle. Is sound behind the creation of crop circles?
No, it's like the Virgin prepares for show. The Chaz just makes up shit as he goes along and gets it right.
So what it says, so when cutting off the stems of affected plants, a multi-fragrance is detected, suggesting they've been cooked from the inside, yet they remain unharmed. A second ground observation reveals that a noticeable amount of groundwater in and around crop circles appears to have vanished. This is corroborated by my infrared photographic analysis. The soil within the formation is generally dry, even cracked, despite overnight rains. Exhaustive lab analysis into hundreds of crop circles, 91 to 95, by biophysicist Dr. W.C. Levengood, reveals physical and biophysical changes in plants inside crop circles. This is where I need your science. Because it says their nodes are literally blown open to form expulsion cavities. Do you know what that means?
Form expulsion cavities. Let's have a look at this link. Have you got it in the crop circles chat?
I think it is. Sounds. It's the sounds one.
Sounds. Crop circles sounds.
I'll stick it in again. It's the last link I'll put in.
Yeah. I've just got it here in front of me. So
I'm on the section, the ground component. Yeah.
The ground component. Yeah. So This leads speculation effect planes are microwaved. I was just going to say it would be microwaves because how else? Because again, I was thinking ultrasounds to do it, but microwaves would explain why you've got this. But it doesn't cook it. So what's going on here actually? So when cutting the stems,
it's like a microwave. Then everything's hot around the outside, and it's red hot on the inside, and cold on the outside.
Okay. We're getting to that's right. That's why I don't like using microwave. So we're getting to the crux of the matter. Is this when cutting the stems of the affected plants? I know you just read this, but I'm reading it myself. A multi fragrances detects just them being cut from the inside, yet they remain unharmed. So two things I'm going to say. The Tomorrow's World one, it was using ultrasonics, an ultrasonic carrier frequency to send a sound, and when it hits a reflective surface, that sound turns into audible sound. And the idea being is that you could have, say, speakers in a room directing sounds to a person's head.
Well, there's if you want to skip a paragraph, there's the sound component.
Okay.
If you want to go on to that,
I'll just get into
finish it.
Yeah,
finish
and then we
this
do
one, go on to that one.
Geometric.
We'll take
later.
it in order then. Yeah.
Well, we'll do geometric after sound because what I'm saying now ties into the sound component. And I remember the chap on it who was sort of saying, what applications they're intending to use for. And so, yeah, we like the idea of using this in stadiums where if we see a troublemaker, we can direct a sound beam to say, we're watching you. And I thought, well, what difference is that going to make? And it just seemed a bit weird. And then I sort of got older and read about glow-in-the-dark operations, like the
gang stalking, like that, isn't it?
Well, in the Cold War era, and to this day, the CIA use ultrasonic beams to send voices into people's heads to make an artificial psychosis because they're whispering all these
that's a component of gang stalking, isn't it? The voice to skull, they call it, don't they?
Yeah, and that technology is this thing which was shown in Tomorrow's World. So let's go on to the sound component. I'll read this one out. It says, ancient Greeks once remarked that geometry is frozen music. To their Egyptian teachers, sacred geometry and music were inextricably linked since the laws of the former govern the mathematic intervals.
Is that why you do the geometry first?
This is why I'm doing sound first, then I'm doing geometry. Because you see, this actually coincidentally ties into my studies into music theory because I'm trying to figure out what notes sound good together and why, and it's to do with ratios, but it's also a bit more than that. So here we go. Frozen music. Egyptian teachers link the laws of former government mathematic intervals that make up notes of the Western music scale, the diatonic ratios. Coincidentally, Hawkins' Euclidean theorems.
Oh, Rob's got a message to you in chat. Do you know what a cloistron tube is?
Cloistron tubes. No, I'm going to have to look up a cloistron tube. Is it a type of valve or?
I'll have a look. You keep talking. I'll have a look.
So I'll keep on talking about this because this is interesting. I say this is interesting. Of course, you're here, so you're interested. Sometimes I feel it does go with saying. So coincidentally, Hawkins' Euclidean theorems had also produced diatonic ratios. So for the first time, geometric theorems were linked with music, and crop circles were proved to contain musical notes. So somebody's already figured this out, which are themselves the byproduct of the harmonic laws of sound frequency. The fields themselves offer blatant clues pointing to a sound component. In 1996, a crop circle demonstrated the combination of two important figures, the 3-4-5 triangle and the golden mean, which gives us the diagram necessary to produce musical ratios, as exemplified in the Divine Proportion by H.E. Huntley. I don't know that one.
Oh, you are going to love what a cloistron tube is.
All right, I'm almost done reading the sound component. Then an outstanding formation at Goodwood, Clatford, which had its plant bent 6 inches from the top, gave the proverbial nod to sound, for here was a representation of a cymatic pattern in 5,000 square foot of barley, and it led straight to a smoking gun. these photographs here, they're not related to what the thing. Oh, sorry, the sound component's actually massive. So, but
Yeah.
I can't leave it on the cliffhanger like that. So I'll read the next paragraph. In 1967, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny published the first of his painstaking studies of the vibrational effects on physical mediums such as water, plaster, oil, and sand, cymatics. By transmitting sound in the shape of a monitored frequency through these elements, he was able to capture on film the exact geometric pattern that sound makes as its vibrations move through these substances. Changing the vibration altered the shape of the geometry captured in the receiving substance. A low frequency produced a simple circle encompassed by a ring, whereas a high frequency increased the number of concentric rings around a central circle. As the frequencies rose, so too did the complexity of the shapes, to the point where tetrahedrons, mandalas, and Pythagorean forms could be discernible. Jenny not only managed to solidify sound, he also enabled humanity to observe frozen music. Jenny also provided a physical connection to the creation of crop circles, since many of the vibrational patterns found in his photos mimicked their designs. Some are blatant imitations, such as a circle surrounded by concentric rings from the 80s. The tetrahedron at Barbary Castle in 1991. The mandalas and spider's web of 1994. Even the highly structured Pythagorean-based star fractals of 1997. Other photos demonstrated the construction geometry encoded within crop circles, but only visible upon dissection of overhead photographs by a compass or computer. But there is yet another coincidence. The relationship between rising complexity of Jenny's cymatic geometries in proportion to the rise of dispensed frequency matches the historical sequential development of the pictograms. Crop circles began appearing as simple circles in the 70s and developed in an exponential curve through the 80s and into today's complex pictograms, much in the same way Jenny's work shows the increase in design complexity relative to the rise in frequency applied.
So
the last sentence
kind of hint. Actually, finish and then I'll carry on.
Oh, there's another sentence, but I think it's a good stopping point.
Yeah, I was going to say that would lead you to think that it's an improvement in technology, then, wouldn't it?
I'm starting to wonder if this was like a. This is kind of like the glow in the dark's way of you know how like kookaburras like to spray paint graffiti to say this is my territory. Is this the glow in the dark's version of graffiti?
Well, it's funny. It's funny how you talk about sound and aliens, and then you watch a film like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because these people are like Batman villains. They do like to tell you what their plan is, don't they?
Yeah, it's their weird code of honor of, oh well, we gave you fair notice by putting it in this piece of fiction with a very abstract warning.
Yeah,
and if you didn't heed the warning, you know. It's kind of like saying, I did a murder, so I put it right inside a fag packet, which I then flushed down the loo whilst I'm on holiday in Benidorm. And it's like, well, I gave fair warning to people on the fag packet, which I flushed down the loo, therefore I got away with it. It's just this... Would you describe that as pill? Slightly Talmudic, that logic?
Well, yeah, it does seem like it, doesn't it? So I've put a link to Klystron Tubes. If you
Rob Calvert says, these people with their warning signs. Let's have a look at Klystron Tubes.
Yeah, I'll put the link in there.
Klystron with a K.
Yeah, it's Klystron.
So it's an ultra-high frequency electronic vacuum device with a steady stream of electrons converted to an alternating stream, modulating electron velocities from... I'm just going to read this silently because there's a lot of big, clever words I can't pronounce.
I'll put it up.
Oh my god! Every single letter, every single word in this paragraph has got hyperlinks. So if you're not sure what the word "the" means or the word "move," I'm just out of curiosity. Let me click on the word "the."
And doesn't.
Oh, the. the before a vowel, the before a consonant, used
In
before
doesn't.
singular or plural.
But yeah, everything else does, doesn't it? Cripes.
Oh, this is the free dictionary. So all of these words are clickable.
Yeah.
The free dictionary has the klystron tube.
Yeah.
It says the following articles from the Great Soviet Encyclopedia of 1979. So it's a microwave tube, and what's it doing? So is it sending out a beam of electrons? It says there's floating drift and reflex.
You want to go down to where it says in 1932, because I think that's the meat of it.
1932, the Soviet physicist D.A. Roskaninsky developed the idea of converting a steady stream electron stream to a stream of varying density, making use of the fact that accelerated electrons catch up with deaccelerated electrons. So what, it's making like pulses of electrons. A method of producing high-power, ultra-high-frequency oscillation based on this idea was proposed by Soviet physicist A.N. Arsenyev, jointly with German physicist O. Heil in 1935. So this is interesting.
So if you've got a tube like that diagram near the top with the nozzle, then you can direct it, which means then you can make complex shapes, can't you?
So Rob Calvert says klystron tubes can be used to target people's brains with music and sound waves. Right, because I thought the technology would be using ultrasonics, but I can see. So you got microwaves, and then you send in
that article we just read. They said that it's cooked from the inside. Do you remember?
Yeah. So I was thinking. Rob's mentioning about this because a klystron tube could do these sorts of shapes in the crop circles. But I'm just thinking to myself. I'm looking at this. I'm just. How would I use microwaves to produce sound? All I can think, and it's not.
So what
really
does this
related.
mean then, Hobbit? It says the typical output of such klystrons is from 1 to 10 watts, and their efficiency is less than 10%. Klystron oscillators are used mainly in parametric amplifiers and in radio beacons with wavelengths in the centimetre or millimetre range. So how does that fit in with aiming it or using it as a weapon?
I'm not good at converting wavelengths into frequency, but even then it wouldn't tell me that much because, I mean, what do you do with various frequencies? So it's a microwave. It's an early microwave transmitter, and it can be used to beam messages into people's brains without using sound, which is very clever. And I don't understand the principle of how microwaves, which is a radio emission, you point at the thing and then it turns into sound. I mean, what's vibrating to produce the sound waves? Because an ultrasonics, I can understand it. You've got some very clever frequency modulation. It hits a reflective surface, and then the carrier frequency turns into lower frequencies which can be heard. But this one, it sort of explains about how the machine works, but it doesn't say about its applications or how you use it to turn people insane. But yeah, I could see how a klystron would be used to make call signs and graffiti on crop circles.
Do you think that's a possible then?
I'm thinking Rob is probably right here. I mean, if it's not a klystron tube, because bear in mind this is 1930s technology. I imagine in the intervening decade since then. But it's got
smaller and more efficient, isn't it? Did you see that picture below the sound component where it says the famous Barbary Castle tetrahedron and its counterpart as a harmonic frequency in water? Did you see that?
So yeah, I mean, they're showing like somatics in water. I mean, is that smoke particles or is it ice particles? I don't.
Oh, right, yeah. So they don't say what.
Yeah, because they're showing the representation of that, but they don't say what frequency it is. I just wanted to briefly talk again about the klystron tubes because that has sort of got me there. whatever the modern technology is that these glow-in-the-darks are using to make crop circles, because now I'm believing it is a man-made phenomenon.
Have we destroyed another? Have we debunked another one of it? I don't suppose it's not really debunking though, is it? Because we haven't got to the bottom of what the actual mystery is.
I mean, we haven't conclusively disproved that aliens are doing it. It's just that, well, we've got the technology to do these things, and the cymatics has been researched. So I think these are sort of very clever, mathematically gifted people, which going like, I know how to make a tetrahedron by this frequency, and I'm going to beam it into the ground using this microwave transmitter. But it could be extraterrestrials as well, in which case any extraterrestrial which is intelligent enough to cross the void of space and get here, they have to have some sort of language. And I would say that music is the foundation of any language, because have you ever been to a country where you don't understand what they're saying and you listen to the melody of their words? You know, there's a certain song, especially if you listen to sing-song languages like Welsh or Italian, there's definitely a song underlying their speech. But, here we go. In its extensive... I'm just skipping... Well, I'm not skipping ahead. I'm going to the... this is quite interesting, so I don't want to skip this bit. We talked about Jenny's work, and the next thing is, the coincidence echoes the repeated claims by many channelers, mediums, sensitive people, at the beginning phase of the phenomenon, that Earth is undergoing a change in frequency. That's the Schumann resonance, I think they're talking about, which was 7 point something hertz. I don't remember the exact number. It's quite a low frequency. It says a raising in the Earth's vibrationary rate. Well, why don't you just call that frequency? A sentiment also shared in the prophecies of native tribes around the world concerning Earth changes of this period. Further corroboration comes from NASA, whose recent
never a straight
NASA.
Answer.
Need another 7 astronauts. whose recent soundings of Earth from space record a rise in frequency hum emitted by the planet.
NASA, the people beyond LOL, we've just fed all the moon rock to cockroaches. Did you ever hear that story? I did.
Just for a laugh.
Just did LOL. We haven't got any moon rock left. We've fed it to cockroaches and put it in people's dinner and literally just squandered it.
We haven't got the original film of the moon landing, you know, the most important event in the history of man. I'm just like, I tell you what, it's almost as if
LOL. Somebody wanted the Big Bang Theory tape in, so he's taped over it.
I was just thinking it was in the 60s or so. So I was like, somebody wanted.
I Dream of Genie then or something.
or
Beverly Hillbillies.
The Beverly Hillbillies, that's it. Yeah, we wanted to record an episode where...
That bird in that was well fit, though, weren't she?
Oh, what, in the Beverly Hillbillies?
Yeah, the blonde.
I'm just thinking, like, the most important event in humanity has been taped over to have that scene of when Granny, instead of smoking a corncob pipe, smokes a Winston cigarette. And at first she puts it in a corncob pipe, and then her son says, "No, Granny, try smoking it like this." And he demonstrates how to smoke a cigarette. And she says, "By golly, that is a good smoke, isn't it? Winston's tastes like a cigarette should." By the way, this episode of Fortean Words has been brought to you by Winston Filter Cigarettes. The cigarette 9 out of 10 American US physicians would say is a good cigarette.
Can you remember that doctors used to recommend fags? What a time to be alive.
Oh, not only that, but there are Kellogg's brand pipe tobacco and cigarettes for asthmatics.
Yeah, don't forget the Kellogg's anti-wank cornflakes.
Yeah, and pipe tobacco for asthmatics, and good for the bronchioles and all that.
We've tangented again, mate.
By the way, you know what? If there's any tobacco companies that want to sponsor a program, we won't take the piss out of you. And if you're wanting to give me like a thing, I like pipe tobacco.
Even Philip Morris. If Philip Morris want to give us a big wedge, we'll take it when we hub it.
Yeah, exactly. And give us. I mean, I'll smoke your ciggies if you give them to me. I'll give them. I'll give them an honest review, and I've got smoker friends as well. We'll have a peer review of your smoke. So, big tobacco. If you're listening to our show, we are interested in working out sponsorship here.
And if we do uncover any improprieties, we'll just look the other way as long as you're paying us.
We'll turn a blind eye. That's okay.
Yeah.
We've got the more important matters to focus on here, like what happens to smoke when you put sound through it, and what interesting shapes you can get. In fact, thinking of such,
hold on a sec.
That scene in Lord of the Rings.
Rob's got one more.
Yeah.
Cavity magnetrons. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, cavity magnetrons are used in microwaves. We've all got particle accelerators in our... Well, not me, I don't have a microwave, but we've all got particle accelerators in our home, and that's the microwave oven. So you've got a device there which is accelerating electrons to a great speed and then beaming it out, and you can cook food with it, and you can boil water. But I was just sort of thinking to myself, what is the cymatic expressions you'd need in order to make a Gandalf sail ship out of smoke, which you can blow through Bilbo Baggins' smoke ring? So I want to get back to Colin Andrews and
that
his,
does sound like a
NASA
euphemism,
thing.
Hobbit.
What?
Blowing a
Bilbo Baggins' smoke ring.
putting a ship through Bilbo Baggins' smoke ring. It does sound like a euphemism.
Yeah. Well, you had to wait for the smoke ring to dilate just enough, but you had to do it whilst it was still there before it dissipated. Why is it that the most memorable parts in The Hobbit, I mean, The Hobbit wasn't as good as Lord of the Rings, but the best bit of the film is just they've had their battle, and Gandalf is sitting next to Bilbo, and he just spends that time like clearing out his pipe and then packing it and relighting it. That's the best scene out of probably... Is there a better scene in any film?
I refuse to watch any of those films.
Why
I've only seen Lord of the Rings. Yeah, The Hobbit. I just like. I'm not watching 9 hours of a film you could do in 2, and make it a lot snappier and a bit more to the point.
They do drag it out, but to be honest, like the entire film, read the book, and then watch that. Yeah, and then watch the 2-minute scene where Gandalf is packing and smoking his pipe. It's one of the best moments in movie history. But by the way, just before we get back into the content, years ago I was in primary school, and my teacher noticed what an avid book reader I was, and she said, Hobbit, why don't you read The Hobbit? You'll enjoy it, what we've been called The Hobbit and all, seeing as you're a Hobbit. And I got to about page 17 and I got bored. And I gave up, and she said, Hobbit? And I said, yeah. I said, what did you think of The Hobbit? I got bored by page 17. I did subsequently reread it. It is a good book, but I think
it's a really enjoyable book packed into like not much. Tolkien. I think that was when Tolkien had someone else editing. I think the self-editing leads to about 3 books, doesn't it?
Stash Prada says The Hobbit was for liberals. Lol, sorry. No, he's probably right. He just did he's got a point there. The fact is, though, despite Tolkien's bent, he still managed to depict a world which I think is the Platonic ideal of England, and that's the main takeaway I have from it. And I think the film actually does that world better justice than the thing, because those little hobbit homes in New Zealand, that's the way the Shire should be. So yeah, Colin Andrews has been doing a lot of research, and I'm sure he enjoyed this talk of hobbits and smoking.
Yeah.
So he says that, what does he say? He says, several accounts of a trilling sound heard by people prior to witnessing the crop circles forming, which again would sort of tie in with what Rob Calvert said about the Klystron tubes.
Trilling that's what birds do.
Yeah.
They go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a trilling sound. I'm glad you can do it. I can't whistle that well. The reports describe a total stillness in the air. The morning song of birds stops, preceded by a trilling sound, and the banging together of wheat heads despite the absence of wind. The crop then lays down in a spiral fashion, the whole episode lasting no more than 15 seconds. Interesting.
So people have actually seen them form, have they?
Oh, mate, I would love to. Well, I say I'd like to be that time. I don't want to get my innards cooked by the microwaves.
Pants, though, wouldn't you? You'd shit your
well,
pants
it's not like shit.
Saw that happen in front of you.
Well, I was going to say, if it happened and I was in the beam of the microwaves, I'd explode my pants as my guts got cooked.
You might get a stray frequency and shit your pants.
Yeah,
a stray brown noise hits you as they're dropping the crops.
You'd shit your pants, and then the microwaves would cook it. And I mean, my God, you're never going to get that out of your trousers. But here we go. This sound was eventually captured on magnetic tape and analysed. Magnetic tape, yeah, not just any tape, but magnetic tape. There's something about the way this article is done with the words, which make it very wordy, and I don't like that. So I'm taking the piss up. As much as I'm fascinated in this, I've got to take the piss out of the way they present it. So it's analysed at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab as mechanical in nature.
And they cooked it, and they melted the tape. Because they said, what did you send it to a jet propulsion lab for? We do jet propulsion here. What are you sending us tapes for? What the fuck? Is that what they said?
He sent the only copy of the recording to them, which was then subsequently taped over with an episode of Dallas. Or no, it's in the 90s, wasn't it? So he taped over it with the theme song to Baywatch
40,
because
the UK's top 40 because it was sound, wasn't it? It was magnetic tape. It was Sunday night when it arrived at NASA, so they taped over it with the top 40.
Yeah, what was the top 40 in the 90s? I mean, you had when did Venga Boys come out? That was mid-90s, wasn't it?
Blur.
Oh yeah, Blur, that was it. Yeah. Blur. The same sound had been previously heard by a BBC cameraman whilst recording an interview near a crop circle shortly before crossing the formation's threshold, which proceeded to render two $50,000 TV cameras obsolete. I wouldn't say obsolete. I would say useless or inert or destroyed.
What? So the sound? So the sound made the cameras out of date. How did that? What did it do?
Yeah, it's just like. I tell you what, cropcircleconnector.com. If you need someone to do proofreading or you want to revise this work, because look. I respect your work. That's why
So it made the sound, and then immediately the new model came out, which had loads more features. Is that what this?
It's like the cameramans. They just sort of left their $50,000 cameras in the field. It's like, oh, sorry, it's old hat now. We've heard this 5.2 kilohertz frequency, and it's just it's rubbish.
Was it
5.2?
And they said it was an insurance job. They were old cameras. They just caught fire. Honestly, Gov. Honestly, direct line. They just caught fire.
I mean, I'm not sure how the sugar water got poured into the lens, but it was aliens.
It's aliens. What?
It's obviously aliens what poured sugar into the fuel cap.
Oh, dude, should we get serious again?
Yeah, so next sentence. So it rendered the cameras obsolete. Obviously, if sound is a main component in the creation of crop circles, it can certainly be interacted with. The formation's physical location.
Do microwaves have some sort of EMP effect? Could they kill a camera?
Oh yeah. I mean, the thing is, if you point microwaves at a circuit, any sort of circuit works as an antenna to pick up radio beams.
Yeah.
And most components, they don't have a tolerance for great big voltage spikes. So microwaves, in order to travel over the air, even in the distance of your microwave, you're dealing with thousands of volts. It will cook electronic components. That's why if you've ever seen bits of metal or fairy lights inside a microwave. That's why they glow brightly, because there's just that much energy being beamed into them that the metal ignites.
Right, okay.
So the formation's physical location may play a part in this. In dowsing crop circles, 2 decades of collective research by noted dowsers Richard Andrews and Hamish Miller, among others, reveals that the crop circles have been materializing over major ley lines, the Earth's magnetic energy grid, or their tributaries. Miller has also observed, together with Paul Broadhurst in The Sun and Serpent, how this energy congregates at stone circles and tumuli, whatever a tumuli is. Imagine you're surprised to find crop circles.
Are the glow in the darks trying to find some way of using ley lines? Then are they? Is this kind of if we're carrying on with our idea of what is causing these circles, then the glow in the darks could be trying to use ley lines as some sort of free energy or something?
I mean, I wouldn't say free energy, because I mean they've obviously got forms of energy production which we're not privy to, and they're not concerned about resource scarcity, because otherwise they'd be giving free energy to all of us. I think, because then we could do away with all this polluting. Because
it could be that they're trying to tap into these, and the ley lines are some way of it's like a test pattern or something.
Well, the thing is, with ley lines, it's not a new discovery, and it's been known about since time immemorial, because our ancestors and people in prehistory have been making sacred sites on these ley line confluence points. And I mean, I assume they were dowsing, or they were figuring out a way of doing them. And I was talking to my dad about this, who he believes in a bit of woo-woo, but he's also kind of very there's a lot of stuff he said would be bollocks, and for the longest time he says that he didn't really believe in dowsing, but he did say, "Oh, your great uncle was a dowser. He'd be prospecting for water wells using hazel rod." And I said to him, "Yeah, I've done it as well, not with hazel, but with brass rods. And I can walk in areas, and the rods will cross over one another. And I've been to the Rollright Stones, which is like one of the easiest areas to do it. And people who think they've got no, what they think they got no sort of psychic ability do it." And I was talking to my dad about this, and he says, "Oh, in other words, what happens is the human being is turning into a galvanometer." I don't know what a galvanometer is, but I assume there's some sort of capacitance, like an antenna. But there's a bit more to it than that. But anyway, the point being is, you can dowse to find these points, and our ancestors dowsed using twigs. We dowse using metal rods, which are a bit more accurate. And these ley lines with the crop circles around them.
A galvanometer is an electromechanical instrument used for detecting and indicating an electric current. A galvanometer works as an actuator by producing a rotary deflection in a response to an electric current flowing through a coil in a constant magnetic field.
Right. Well, that makes sense then, because bodies of water do have an electric current to them. They got a charge. So yeah, your body's responding to that.
They're also magnetic as well, aren't they? Because you can do that thing if you put a... Is it a
electromagnet?
Is it a magnet, and then you can divert your tap? Literally, if you just put a magnet next to your tap, you can change the direction of the stream, can't you?
Yes, you can, and you can do it with static electricity too, by rubbing a piece of nylon to build up a charge, and you can watch it actually pull the water. 2 things quickly, I just want to refer to the chat. Stash Prada said, "Did Tolkien take the idea from older myths?" Yeah, many people have corroborated this now. He had access to Oxford University's medieval library with ancient texts predating the medieval era, talking about the true history of Europe. And I believe he incorporated these truths into his book. And this is the great thing about fiction. It's great. It's the greatest form of truth can be found in fiction. That's why Lord of the Rings is so powerful, despite his shortcomings. all he did, I would say, is he's a bit like a modern day Herodotus, but instead of saying I'm a historian of prehistoric medieval thing, he put it into a parable of the hobbits and all that, so that he could get away with publishing it. So, and then Rob Calvert says measures currents. Yes, that's the bit we got onto about galvanometers. So, I want to get back to this dowsing crop circles. 2 decades of collective research by noted dowsers. Imagine a surprise to find crop circles energy linked to these ancient sites and the magnetic grid. In noted cases such as the Cyclopean triple Julius set fractal formation, try saying that after you've had a few pints.
Yeah, good job. Geralt's not saying that one.
I've got... Just to wet my whistle, I had a couple of cans of Carling in the fridge, but I've been drinking water through this, and considering all these words, I'm glad I have done that. Windmill Hill, 1996. Crop circles appear over the node point where the male and female lines intersect and discharge dowsable patterns of energy. These invisible fingerprints, which can last up to a year after all visible signs of the formation of have been tilled, were discovered by Miller to have coherent geometric structures. Teutonic crosses, 9, 10, and 12-pointed stars, the same geometric patterns which form part of the esoteric mathematical teachings in Egyptian, Buddhist, and Arabic cultures, and since popularized in the West by Pythagoras. This relationship between geometry, mathematics, I'm not saying math, I'm not American.
Maths!
Yes. The study of mathematics, yes, it's a plural thing, therefore it has an S on it, because it's plural.
You do more than one.
I'm doing the study of colour. You're doing the study of colours, mate. So the relationship between geometry, maths, and music is especially important in Buddhist mandalas, whose elaborate geometries are claimed to be the physicalization of chants which are then used for meditation. In Arabic culture, these relationships have been meticulously preserved in ceramic tile design. In both cases, the geometry mirrors the crop circle designs in either their outward appearances or in their respective construction skeleton, which in turn bear a familiarity to Jenny's photographic evidence. And there is some photographs there on the side, which if you look on the left-hand side, there you go. I believe that...
Yeah, I'm showing it.
Yeah, you are. That one, those are both representations of a sign called the Flower of Life. And if you want to know more about the Flower of Life, it's a 2D representation of a hypercube. If you want to know more about that, there's a documentary by he's part of the Proctor family of Procter and Gamble fame. It's called Thrive. So yeah, it's no coincidence that a large percentage of crop circles can be identified with ancient cultures. To this day, their histories are so honoured through song and music, their healing rituals performed with sound or rhythm. In Secrets of the Soul, Peter Tompkins reveals how Hopi natives danced in a field during a severe drought, chanting specific notes. By harvest time, the only area in the vicinity to yield a harvestable crop was the one exposed to their vibrationary tones, or chanting to you and me. A parallel situation exists in England, where farmers whose yields have played host to genuine crop circles report an increase in yield and healthier-looking pest-resistant plants.
Well, this is what I was going to say. This music. There's nothing that doesn't respond to music. Even plants do, don't they? They even respond to specific types of music, don't they? Have we
ever done the what's it called? The we done the ice crystals photographed by Dr. Masaru Emoto.
No, I don't think so.
Fortean
doesn't ring a bell.
Oh well, Dr. Masaru Emoto, who died about 5 years ago, I think it was. He was a pioneer in the research of intentions into water, and he has since proven. Has he proven it? Because, I mean, I will want to say it goes without saying that water is a liquid crystal. because water is a liquid crystal as opposed to ice, which is a solid crystal. Liquid crystals have interesting properties. You can put electricity through them to make them do different shapes, and the monitors I'm using are liquid crystal displays. Liquid crystals can store information in them. Water seems to be a store of information, which lends credence to the idea of homeopathy, storing the memory of something that was put into it when it's far too dilute to have any of the chemical present. And Dr. Emoto's work found that not only can chemicals leave a resonant effect in water, but emotions and intentions can do it. In fact, one of the first scientific experiments I did when I was about 12 years old, it was a science class in year 7, and I was paired up, and I said, why don't we do an experiment on the melting rate of ice, where we play various songs. So we'll have a control sample, which we located away from the classroom, so it'll be away from all the noise. And then we had test sample A, where we were screaming "die, die, die" to it, which was great fun. And then we had test sample B, where we asked the teacher if we could put a tape of some classical music on. So she had like some Mozart or something. We played it, and the control substance was the middle. Mozart one melted the slowest, and the one we were screaming "die" at melted the quickest. But that might have been due to our breath warming it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it does sound like that, doesn't it? But is there any truth to the stuff about playing babies classical music and it improves their intelligence and stuff like that, or is that hokum?
It's true. You listen to classical music and your intelligence increases. What's happening is that parts of your brain are being activated by the complex melodies, which is why you probably don't want to play them ooga booga music, and you certainly don't want to play them jazz, unless you like the idea of schizophrenic children. I know
everyone gives jazz a bad rap, but it's only the freeform jazz, isn't it? That's the really like hateful stuff.
Scats. Just
Scat,
jazz. Yeah. You know what's ironic about that is the fact that I quite like Scatman John Larkin, but not any of the jazz music he did, just his singing voice. The Nazis did a lot of bad things, right? I know it's a bit of a controversial subject amongst certain circles, but
really, first I've heard of it.
Yeah, I know. But did you know that the Nazis actually did some good things too? And one of the things the Nazis did was they were doing prohibitions on music and what sort of music could be played. And they were saying, in regards to jazz music, they didn't outlaw it outright, but they said it needed to be heavily prohibited and curtailed. And if jazz music was played, a piece may have no more than 10% syncopation in it. And I just thought, this is what we need to do. We need to do increasingly more stringent laws on shit music, so that you've got either very clever composers which can, work with the limitations and enjoy them, or just people look to make other genres which are hopefully less offensive. I'll just go back to the...
Hate speech said scat circles.
Crop circles of God's bumholes. Scat circles. Oh, but enough about curry night. Let's get back to the thing. I mean, this is great. He says, as Robert Lawler once wrote in Sacred Geometry, both our organs of perception and the phenomenal world in which we perceive seem to be best understood as systems of pure pattern, or as geometric structures of form and proportion. Therefore, when many ancient cultures chose to examine reality through the metaphors of geometry and music, they were already very close to the position of our most contemporary science. The musical scale, constructed on the harmonies of sacred geometry, and now found within the framework of crop circles.
I tell you, Gammon's fighting back, isn't it, Hobbit? Gammon don't want to stay down, does it?
It's so good. It's come back for. And now found within the framework of crop circles represent the mathematical structure of the soul of the world because it embodies the essence of the universe modeled on it. I feel like I've just said a bunch of word salad there, but let's try and discern some meaning in there. So what is he saying? He says the most contemporary science. Well, our most contemporary science, I think he means is cymatics. Our ancestors understood about the musical scale because, after all of our terms for music, which I'm starting to learn now, like the Phrygian mode. If any of you guys are wondering what the Phrygian mode sounds like, I would say listen to Bach's Jesu Joy of Man's Desiring. Listen to the original if you're not familiar with it. And then listen to a guy on YouTube who's done the Phrygian mode version. Slightly different timings, a few notes missing, and it's a completely different song. I mean, it's still the same song, but it's different. Flamenco music is also in a Phrygian mode. So if you think about what flamenco sounds like, that's an example. The point of what I'm trying to say here is that Phrygian refers to the people of the steppes who are an ancient peoples from Herodotus' time. So our ancestors understood about sacred geometries and musical scale, as our notes are based on these sacred geometries. And the reason being is because certain notes sound good together. Those are harmonic notes. Certain notes do not sound good together, and those are inharmonic notes. And if you got something like a tritone, which is a nasty sound, if you ever watch a documentary where they're saying like, this cowboy builder is fraudulent and he doesn't do the work that he's supposed to do, or if you're watching To Catch a Predator, this nonce trying to have sex with this 13-year-old who's grooming on the internet. They play something called a tritone on that to let you know it's a bad thing's happening. It's a sound which will make you feel uncomfortable. So the point, what I'm trying to say is that understanding of what's harmonic and what sounds good and what doesn't is the key to music theory, and you're looking for groups of notes what sound good together. So I'm sorry for this long explanation, but what I'm trying to do there is take that paragraph, which is a bit word salady, and I don't like that, and trying to synthesize a new meaning there, which hopefully makes a bit more sense, and hopefully the audience is enjoying it. I'd say the audience is enjoying it. I mean, we've got 16 likes, 1 dislike, and 14 watching now. Is that 1 dislike Brutus?
Probably.
He's like, Hobbit's boring. Go listen to my debate with Horace.
Yeah, people are loving this.
He says, oh, we're almost finished this bit as well. So I'll blast through it, and then we can, let's ask the audience to pick their brains. Could it be, by implication, that crop circles are the universal language? In them, we see the embodiment of musical and geometrical elements as they give rise to designs of perfect symmetry, proportion, and harmony. This may explain why people just aren't as aroused by man-made formations, regardless of how coherent they look, especially from the air. Their ratios are off the mark and fail to activate a harmonic vibration within the viewer. The same applies to a genuine crop circle. Distort or remove just one element, and the communication between viewer and design is short-circuited. It simply becomes a work of art without meaning. But
Do you think you can tell the difference between a fake one and a real one just by looking at them?
Have you seen the fake ones? Like you've seen the Mickey Mouse one? It looks like Mickey Mouse's ears in the circle.
Oh, does it? Yeah, I've seen the Trump one.
But
I've seen the Trump one as well.
Oh, I haven't seen the Trump one, but the fact is, this actually I think gets on
Trump
the real
and then
crux
Trump
of...
in Russian above it, so it's obviously a fake.
Oh, yeah, there we go. But he says, we're getting to the crux of the matter. He says,
I think the jellyfish. Have you seen the jellyfish? I think the jellyfish is.
Yeah.
Because it's not the legs. The legs are a giveaway.
Yeah, it is. It's. Yeah, I mean, it's nice, but you can sort of see the roughness in it, and it's clever, but yeah. But here it says, the thing is, this may explain why people just aren't as aroused by man-made formations, regardless of how coherent they look, especially from the air. Their ratios are off the mark and fail to activate a harmonic vibration within the viewer. The same applies to a genuine crop circle. Distort or remove just one element, and the communication between viewer and designer is short-circuited. I'm repeating myself here. It simply becomes a work of art without meaning. But it showed people a mere photo of the real thing, and their eyes light up. They become emotional, light-headed, ecstatic, benevolent, dizzy, even noxious. In stark contrast, a hoaxed crop circle provokes apathetic or even negative reactions. Well, I'd say noxious is a negative reaction. Perhaps what the recognizes is a basic language. I'm sorry, I'm reading this as it is here. Perhaps what the recognizes.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than people that write in syntax. It really trips you up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit, it trips me over there. Perhaps what the recognizes is a basic language common to all nature, but only retrievable by the subconscious. Our eyes may be attracted to the designs in the golden wheat, but the real message is reached at a deeper level, triggered by an underlying code based on sacred geometry, the very same code upon which nature is created, and whose formulas were zealously guarded by ancient esoterics as the knowledge of the godly. What we are reading in the fields of England and now throughout the world could very well be the book of universal law. And I just want to say, because I want to tie this back into sound and music theory, some songs sound good, don't they? And other songs you listen to it, and it's just atonal shit. Or it's an assault on the eardrums. It's not saying like, oh, I feel better after listening to that song. I mean, do you ever have songs you listen to and it cheers you up?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the whole point behind Gregorian chant is healing tones, which if you listen to them, will make you feel better for it. And there's certain music
they kind of sound a bit comfy, don't they? The old Gregorian chants.
I love them. And then there's certain songs you hear, especially on adverts, where they just got like shit ooga booga beats with women going and you listen to it and it's something which just gets under your skin, it gets on your nerves, and it really does get on your nerves, and it causes, I would say, it does make people unhealthy. I mean, I get exposed to this because I got family watch the telly, and I listen to it when I'm in the kitchen, and it does my nut in hearing this shit. But the point being is, good music uses sacred geometry, uses this power. That one there with the pentagram and the two circles, that one looks a bit fake. I mean, I'm not sure how it's fake, but it seems fake to me. It's like with music. I don't know how to explain what good music is, but I know it when I hears it.
Yeah.
So, audience, you're being quiet. What's your thoughts on this? I want a bit of engagement here. Don't just leave me talking.
I'll do.
This is a spectator spot. Anyway. I was going to say this is a spectator
with the two hoaxers from 1991. We'll talk about them.
Oh, what, the ones which go right round the country?
Yeah, the ones what done all
hours of the day.
The ones what done all of.
Yeah.
Right. Which was it? I think it's a baby.
Because they were on. Was it Good Morning TV or saying about?
Yeah, this is from BBC Hampshire. This one's it is. So it says. This is the BBC's take on it. So, crop circles have become a feature of the UK countryside in summer, especially Wiltshire and Hampshire. What causes them? Are they all fakes? Are they caused by magnetic shifts? Or are they UFO landing sites? Every summer you can be sure of two things in the UK: rain and crop circles. So prolific they are they that a few years ago US billionaire Lawrence Rockefeller funded a huge UK survey of crop circles. Now that's interesting, isn't it? That you'd have a big billionaire like Rockefeller get interested in it, isn't it?
Is he looking for the truth, or is he looking to shape the narrative?
You never know, do you? Scientists carried out aerial research over Wiltshire. No, I don't think this is about those two.
Rob Calvert says, have you compared hoax circles to real ones? And well, yeah, I mean that's the thing. I don't know how to say that one's real and that one's fake, but
you kind of feel.
I mean, the best way to do it is to walk in them, and you get a feeling for it. You can just sort of go like, "Yep, something's gone on here, and this one's a real."
So it's 1991. Self-professed pranksters Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley made headlines claiming it was they who started the phenomenon in 1978 with the use of simple tools consisting of a plank of wood, rope, and a baseball cap fitted with a loop of wire to help them walk in a straight line. To prove their case, they made a circle in front of... it's funny, isn't it? It's like... when there's somebody who claims to hoax, they're believed instantly, aren't they? If you show some paranormal activity, you have to prove everything. Down to the you have to like provide the camera you took the picture with and everything. Don't you?
Yeah, the burden of proof when it comes to these debunking things is just like it's swamp gas from Venus. And they show a plank of wood.
I did it. LOL. How did you do it? It did look like this. LOL. Isn't it?
It's like showing a plank of wood, and it's like, here's the swamp gas weather balloon ball lightning.
Yeah.
Hates Peach and Rob Calvert in the chat. They say crop holocaust, croppercausts, and Frank circles.
And Frank's. Jesus Christ.
Maybe the Nazca lines were crop circles.
No, because they're not really
No, they didn't. The old Mayans or whoever built them, they couldn't just go to Jewson's to get some 2x4 planks.
Dear. So, what's it say? So, Baron Chorley claimed to be responsible for all circles made prior to 1987 and for more than 200 crop circles 1978 to 1991.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
just like you got anything better to do on?
Yeah, I've got a
plan. Got anything better to do at 3 a.m. on the Tuesday morning prior to your work as a plaster and decorator?
Yeah.
You're just going to go up to this field 140 miles from my house with in the pitch darkness with this plank of wood, which is swamp gas from Venus, and I'm going to make a crop circle. I'm such a prankster, me.
Where is it? Oh, I did find one. In 1992, Hungarian youths Gabor Takas and Robert Dalos, both 17, were the first people to face legal action after creating a crop circle. Takas and Dalos of the St. Stephen Agricultural Technicum High School in Hungary specialising in agriculture, created a 36-metre diameter crop circle in a wheat field near, I'm not even going to, Svezehexkova, something like that, 43 miles southwest of Budapest, somewhere like that. They appeared on TV, claimed it was a hoax, and then the owners of the land sued the teens for what's the local currency of 630,000 forint.
Hungarian rubles.
Forint. The forint.
Oh, 630,000 forints.
Yeah, forint.
Oh, it's Hungary.
Do you know how many US dollars that is?
30.
3,000 in damages.
Oh, all right. I mean, yeah, fair enough. I mean, if you go into someone's crop field and you damage, say, like 1% of the crop, I mean, you should be liable for 1% of the criminal damages or something.
Yeah. In 2000, Matthew Williams became the first man in the UK to be arrested for causing criminal damage. In November 2000, he was fined £100 and £40 costs. Are you still there, Hobbit? Oh, I was just checking you're still here.
I'm still here. Yes,
because
my
computer keeps slowing down, but it seems alright.
I muted myself for a cough break.
Ah, right, okay.
So we are not endorsed by the Chinese plague.
I was actually going to finish off with that one from Coast to Coast. We've found that we've had our first UK crop circle of 2019, haven't we?
Oh, what, 2020?
Oh shit! Yeah,
we're
that's
in
a year old, isn't it?
2020 now, aren't we?
Sake.
Yeah.
For fuck's sake! I thought
It's all right.
It's current year +1.
I haven't really been following 2019 crop circles, so let's talk about it. It's news to me.
The first formation of the year has been found. The design was reportedly discovered in the town of Warminster on Wednesday, which is, I assume, is probably down south somewhere with a name like that, isn't it?
Well, Warminster's an old medieval town, isn't it? It's,
I would have thought so. Yeah.
It's a proper name, isn't it? Warminster.
Yeah.
Not like that bloke who buried the Ford car down.
So basically the first. So that was in May, and that was the first one of the year. So
it's a bit late in the year, isn't it?
Yeah, very late, isn't it?
Guess the aliens were busy that year.
Yeah, as to who or what may have created the formation, it's a safe bet the debate over the cause of the crop circle phenomenon will undoubtedly continue in 2019 as skeptics contend the formation came courtesy of human hands. Well, obviously, the two blokes in the plank doing every single crop circle in the whole of the UK.
The two positions in this debate have always been aliens did it. Actually, no, it's a plaster and decorator. Yeah, Planks did it. But I think I'm going for the third position here, if I may, which is that humans did it, but they're glow-in-the-dark humans with flying saucers with advanced 21st century Klystron tubes. What can microwave crops without destroying them completely, so that they all lie down like this.
Because microwave beams. We've just been actually, Hobbit. You've got to have crops for a crop circle, hence May.
Right, okay, but where I work in the fields, I see things growing in the field, what later become crops, as early as January and February. So. Joke's on you, I guess.
But well, they said it was late as well. So
yeah, I mean,
even
May is
article,
late.
They say it's a late start to the season.
Yeah.
Right. So
Michael James is from a farming family, my lovelies. I mean, you're from the north of England, because I know summer takes a while to get up north, and some places it never really gets there. But here down south,
citation needed. How do we know? How do we know it's not livestock instead of arable?
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. Don't just go. I'm from a farming family. We want a bit more than that. Is it arable or livestock?
Oh, I don't know. What is the average speed of an unladen swallow? African or European?
Oh God, we're heavy with the Monty Python tonight, aren't we? Busted! It busted! It's livestock! It's livestock!
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we don't have crop. We don't have crop circles from cows being tipped over in geometric patterns, do we?
Oh dear! So
hey, maybe that could be a next episode of Fortean Words. Tune in next week where we'll be talking about cow tipping. Who's doing it?
Cow
and
tipping?
Why?
Is it related to canal pushing?
Is it related to canal pushing? Tune in next week where we discuss this or not.
Or something else.
Oh God, I need a theremin right now so I can play some spooky outro music.
Yeah, we need to.
Ooh, yeah. I can just do it in my mouth, can't I?
I think that's us done. I think we've rambled enough now, haven't we?
Yeah. I think that's the ration of entertainment for people. Tune in next week.